for a reason. This is the, in my estimation, the most critical part of whether a program works or not. If management only pays lip service to a program, or if they don't give it any credence at all, it will fail. Now, I've been in this situation as hired to come in and fix problems for a company. Hey, I need you to come in and do this. And as soon as I was there, they said, hey, welcome. Oh, by the way, you can report back to me in 6 months and tell me how things are going. And they just didn't have the buy-in. And I knew what my task was at the outset there was to get management to buy in and believe in a program. And so if I spent the entire course of the webinar talking about just this one slide, I think that would be okay, because I think this is the critical part of whether our program works. So number one on there is believe it. We have to go in and believe that accidents are unacceptable. We have to believe that it's the right thing to do to make sure everybody goes home healthy and with all their parts attached at the end of the day. It's the right thing to do to have the goal that nobody ever dies on our watch. And I think each of us as managers should have those things as our mantras and help those be guiding principles for us in how we behave and how we handle each of these parts of the program. Next thing we need to do to commit as managers is to write it down. And depending on what level you are in management, you may need to get somebody from an upper level to help you with this. And that's why we're doing the elected official webinars is we want those elected officials not in your back pocket, not really diving into what management does on a day-to-day basis, but we want them to buy into the program and give you the support, meaning verbal support, monetary support, time to be able to do the things that you need to do. And so for us, we need to come out with, we need to have something and write down, this is our commitment, and post that, communicate it to our people. Let them know that accidents are unacceptable. Now that doesn't mean that because an accident's unacceptable, we fire anybody that has an accident, but that this is something that doesn't, that we won't accept in our workplace, and our goal is to eliminate those accidents. We need to make safety a part of our culture. And how do we do that? We make it a part of what we do. So if we have a governing body, whether it be a council or a commission or, excuse me, or a board, we should have safety be a standing agenda item on their meetings, so they know about they know about what's going on, and they have an opportunity to discuss the safety agendas that we have, but they also have the opportunity to voice their support for this program. If management comes out or elected officials come out and say, we will do whatever it takes to make sure we do this job safely, that carries a powerful message to all of our employees that are out there. So another goal that we need to have as managers is to provide adequate time and resources to be able to do the job. I think this is one of the common pitfalls that we have is we have great intentions and we say, yes, we're going to have this great program. Oh, by the way, we just had something happen and we got to pull all of our resources away, or budgets are tight this year. We have to look at that and say, is this a value that we believe in, and put the adequate time and resources in to reach that value. Another thing to do is have upper management chair the safety or accident review committee. And those could be the same organization. Some people call them by different names, but have them involved to be able to be there and give support and also provide the resources, money or allocate resources to be able to handle the suggestions that the safety committee comes up with, or if they review an accident and say, we need to do this to prevent the recurrence of this accident, support that. The next one, walk the talk, talk the walk. Be seen doing the right thing. Go out and as you as a manager get into your car to drive around the block, do up your safety belt. Even if it doesn't really matter, I'm just moving my car to the other side of the parking lot. Walk the talk. Make sure that if there's a rule in place, we're keeping those rules and showing that example to everyone in the organization. Another thing that we can do to carry the weight of safety is to make safety a performance goal. So right now at this time of year, we're probably doing our annual reviews of each of the employees that report to us throughout our organizations. If we put that on as a goal, safety is equal in weight with your quality of your work, or the quantity of your performance, or whatever it is that you have on there as a goal. Make that a standard goal for everyone throughout the organization. Now, for somebody that works in an office environment, well, it's going to be a little bit different goal than it is for somebody that's crawling into confined spaces or doing other hazardous duties out there. But still, give it the weight that it deserves. All right, Lance, please jump in if I have any questions that I've missed. The next critical step is to establish accountability, and you've seen us talk about this maybe more than you want to hear in the last year, because we really believe in it. We want to establish this accountability from top to bottom of the organization. Employees' job descriptions should describe what their safety responsibilities are. What duties do they have in response to safety? Employees should have enough authority and training or knowledge to accomplish the duties and be accountable for those responsibilities. If we throw somebody out there without giving them the knowledge or authority to do the tasks that we've asked them, we pretty much destined them to fail from the outset. So let's look at that. And on the other side of that, it's pretty tough to hold somebody accountable for failure to do something if we haven't provided them with the resources to be able to do that job. So we need to establish that as part of that employee's job description, as part of their work duties at the outset, so they understand what they're required to do. They also understand, hey, I need to build my knowledge or my training repertoire to get it up to the point where I can do this task. One important step. This is a challenge in safety. Is a lot of times we end up punishing employees for doing something wrong, or only talking to people about the bad things that are happening, what they're doing. Let's make sure that we praise people for doing the right way. And part of these programs can be an incentive program where supervisors go out and have an instantaneous reward, a drink or a candy bar, or maybe even it's just the simple praise, but have supervisors focusing on, I'm going to go out each day and look for somebody doing the right thing, or multiple people doing the right thing. But along with that, we need to set clear rules and enforce those rules. Don't look past things. I put a lot of these pictures in this presentation of people doing some pretty unsafe acts or some unsafe conditions there. Let's not look by those things and shake our head as we walk by. Let's set the rules and enforce them. Doesn't matter who does it or what circumstances. The rules are the rules, and let's stick with those. Sometimes we've developed a culture over the years that kind of brushes off. Well, hey, I've just got to get her done. I've got to get this job complete, and I just don't have time to mess with all of your safety stuff. And sometimes you'll have some real standouts. You try to put a program in place, and people will fight you. And some some employees bear a lot of hold a lot of sway with the entire populace or an entire department. And we've got to look at those situations, and sometimes we have to do what I like to say. Sometimes we have to shoot a hostage. Sometimes we have to make an example of somebody and say, things are changing around here. That's not the culture that we want to espouse in our organization. Let's we'll make an example of a person so everybody understands it's a new day. It's a different focus, and we're serious about it at this point. Next one is employee involvement. If you hire somebody who is a safety professional or risk manager or whatever that is, they may have all of the degrees and certifications, credibility. If we throw the entire responsibility on that person, you're guaranteed to fail, no matter how good they are. We need to make sure that everyone is involved in the process throughout the organization. From frontline all the way up to our elected officials or board, whoever it may be. For employees, frontline employees, to fully embrace a change in how they do their job, or a new tool or new personal protective equipment, they're going to be far more likely to embrace that if they had some role in making the change. Even if it were simply, hey, we're looking at this process, we're looking at this. How do you think? What do you think about this? What do you think would work best? Now, that doesn't mean we need to take every suggestion that we've got and put it into place, but sometimes just listening to that employee will build that buy-in and allow them to support the decisions that we make to better our workplaces. And our employees build our culture by encouraging others. So, like I said, if we will build people up and praise them for the good things that they do, and also build that culture among coworkers, that's going to go a long way to changing the culture. Employees need to know that management truly supports safety and cares about their health. If we come off hollow and it's just another program that management's coming out with, it may not go very far. Oh, I wonder how long this one's going to last. We did this program for the last 6 months. Now we're going to do this. Let's make sure that we really do believe this stuff and buy into it, and let those employees know that, hey, the purpose that we're doing this is not just to have another program. The purpose is for those employees to go. Is for those employees to for everybody to be safe, and that we care about their health. Well, that was Lance asking a question. Sorry. Lance asked, can anyone share what their entity does for employee instant rewards? So go ahead and respond in there. I thought somebody had asked that. I had one that I did when I was in industry. Every supervisor had a card that was basically a recognition card, and they would carry that around, and when they found somebody doing everything right, they would write their name on it, what they were doing right, and about once a week we would do a drawing and give somebody some gift card to a restaurant, or some gift certificates to a restaurant, or something to reward people. And people knew that was going to happen. And I'll tell you what, those workers out there were working very hard to be seen doing everything right. And also on that, there was a token that was good for a drink or a candy bar. All right, so back to what we were talking about. Employees need to gain education to improve their credibility. We can't expect every employee to understand every hazard that they're working with. We can't expect them to totally understand their process if it's just a new process to them. And so we need to make sure that they have the opportunity to be educated, and they also have the opportunity to ask questions without fear of being looked down upon because they asked a quote unquote dumb question. Always be willing to answer even the simplest questions, because they may be the ones that would cause people to put themselves in a dangerous situation. And then the other thing is encourage safety committee participation by any of the employees that are out there. We encourage them in the safety moment webinar this morning, those frontline employees to go out and volunteer to participate on that, or if there isn't a slot open, to just provide information and say, hey, here's a suggestion of how we can do things better. All right. Next one is in identifying and controlling hazards. And this all starts before it starts. When we bring in a process, we bring in a new piece of equipment, even a vehicle that is new and different to us, we need to start engineering long before the process starts. And so making a safety review a part of any new process is an essential part of a program that works. So reviewing processes, going in and taking a step-by-step approach. Sometimes just writing down every step it takes to change a light bulb. You know, that's pretty simplistic, but really, if you think about that, we can outline the hazards that go along with, hey, I'm going to change out a light bulb. What are the hazards? What are the tools that I use? What are the controls that I have in place? And how can I prevent myself from being injured changing that light bulb? Well, in a more detailed task, let's write down step by step what the tasks are to complete this job, and that will help us to identify those hazards, opportunities that we can control people's performance and keep them safe while doing that. And as we go through that, identify those unsafe acts or conditions, because both have the potential to contribute to accidents. Anytime there's a new process or a new material, we bring a new chemical in, or a new piece of equipment, let's review that ahead of time so we think through what might be a problem with that. Along with that, we need to provide an opportunity or a way for employees to report hazards. And obviously, we'd like to have employees report this so we can talk with them and follow this up. But I also don't mind having an anonymous system to report hazards. Sometimes employees may feel that you know, oh, I can't report this because I might get in trouble, or you know, supervisor or coworker will look down on me for reporting this. But I'm a little bit worried about this. Well, give them an opportunity to report that. Another thing that goes along with that is an open door policy to the boss, whoever that may be. Just like when we talk about harassment and discrimination, you know, most of you will have a policy and procedure in place that, hey, if you don't feel comfortable talking to the supervisor, you can go all the way to the top or to human resources or whoever. My recommendation is that the boss has an open door policy and an open telephone. So if somebody says, hey, this situation is life-threatening, they can feel confident going to the boss. The boss will take action and not look down on that person for bringing that up. Employees have the responsibility to manage safety in their work area. They understand their jobs better than we do as management. They know the little intricate parts of the job, and so they have that responsibility along with that to identify, here's the hazard. This tool hurts when I use it. You've got to be very careful doing this job, or this part of the job, because if you do it wrong, you could be hurt this way. Well, if we bring a new person on and put them on that job, they may not understand that simple part. Let's grab that piece of information and put it into their procedure. Facility audits. This is going to be another big focus for us in the next year. Is trying to encourage you to do regular audits. And I know you've heard us talk about this in the past, but we highly recommend that everybody audit, and we do it regularly. As a manager, particularly if you're high up in the organization, but it doesn't matter. If your employees or people in the department see bosses out, taking time out of their schedule to go look for safety things. If they take the time to talk to and compliment somebody on the good things they do, or on the other side, talk to somebody that's maybe performing an unsafe act and say, hey, why are you doing this? You know, we're concerned about your safety. We want to make sure that we have the proper tools and all of that. If people see that, that carries a ton of weight. They will. People will come forward with concerns far more often if they think something's going to happen. If they think that management really cares. Critical part of doing these audits, though, getting out and looking at your facility. And I recommend, you know, there's different types of audits. One can be just a day-to-day audit. We talked about that with the front line. Look at your work surroundings. What is out there? Where's the nearest fire extinguisher? Where's the nearest exit? Are there any trip hazards in my area? It's just kind of an ongoing thing that we do at the startup of our shift. And we also do, you know, a set monthly audit where we'll go out and specifically take a checklist and say, I'm going to look for this today or this month, and pass that around to different people so they can all have experience in doing that. But I come back to the point of get caught doing the right thing, get caught looking for safety, and that will go further than you could believe in establishing a great safety culture. Provide a way to track these findings. So when we have a problem, sometimes it's as easy as you know, moving a wastebasket from in front of a fire extinguisher. Sometimes it's a far more detailed process, and it takes a lot of budget, takes time. We need to have a way to make sure that those findings don't disappear. We need to make sure that they're handled in an appropriate manner and in a timely manner. So a way to track that, and we provide various different ways to do that, and we've got a lot of documents to go along with each one of these things. But we have our MyTrust app that they can use both on your mobile device, on your Apple devices, as well as the online version to track these deficiencies that we find. So when Doug or Lance or myself come out and visit your facilities and do a risk assessment, we will put it into MyTrust, and then you can go online or on your mobile device and go in and track those things to completion. But simple things like a spreadsheet or a work order system can also work for that. Investigating accidents. We spent some time this last year talking about this. We believe that investigating these accidents, and particularly close calls, are one of the surest ways to prevent accidents from happening in the future. Don't forget those close calls, because they're seconds or inches away from being a serious injury or a fatality. Investigate everything. Have a committee in place. You can call it your safety committee or incident review committee, but have them go in and look at each of these items and close calls, and have the supervisor or the manager of the area come in and report and say, here's what happened in my department when this near miss or when this accident happened. It goes a long way to establishing accountability if a supervisor or manager knows that they've got to sit in front of the committee. Hopefully you'll have a member of upper management, the mayor, the commissioner, the board chair, somebody in that high position, or director of the organization will be there and making a decision. That goes a long way to establish an accountability to management. When we look at these incidents, let's keep drilling down and asking questions until it hurts. When it starts to hurt, when it gets closer to home, we're probably getting close to that root cause. You know, it may be something as we weren't enforcing our policy. There was a policy in place. The employee chose not to follow that policy. Now, a lot of times that employee may have made a conscious decision to disregard that. But why is that? You know, have we not enforced our policy? Have we not provided adequate supervision or lack of training? Does the employee not know why that procedure or tool or whatever it is in place? And when we get down to that level, that's where we can really start rooting out potential for those accidents. All right. So education and training.
I just want to, before you plow on to the next one, that last picture, of course, was a dandy. That guy standing on those two engine doors. Come on. That was too much. But I just wanted to throw out an encouragement. If you have any questions or anything that you have, go ahead and put it into the question and answer field. I'll make sure that Jason gets a hold of the question. I did send you one comment that a member sent back, is they give a small bonus in the pay bucket if they got an employee doing something safe. So
yeah, absolutely.
Money in the pocket always gets my attention.
Yeah, money or gift certificates, they go a long way, but you cannot overstate the value of some simple praise. Hey, I really appreciate you doing this. That goes a long way to building people up. And you know what? If they get praised once, they're going to do it again. Education and training. Let's build a training plan for everyone from the top to bottom. And that's really what we looked at in our Excellence in Risk Management certification program. Is we have the 3 tiers, 3 different tracks, from frontline to management to elected officials, because everybody has need of some training, and it's all different. So let's make a plan and build that and work with our people on that. You know, one of the other documents that we have is a training matrix where you outline their positions and what their training plan is for the year and even beyond that. How often do they need to be refreshed on this or that? And you know, we of course believe that ERMC is a great addition to that, along with your training that you provide there and other resources as well. So employees need to know how to identify hazards. If they don't know what it's a hazard, it still is, and they're still potentially injured from that. They need to be able to know how to control the hazards. They need to know what their processes are. They need to know what their rules are. Do we have a specific new employee training? Many of our organizations are relatively small, and they hire one person at a time or maybe a couple at a time, and it's hard to have a sit-down orientation to talk to them about everything. Sometimes we'll sit back for 6 months until we've got a big group, or maybe it's once a year we have this orientation. Well, there's a lot of water under the bridge there when they don't know the rules. So maybe it's an abbreviated training that we're able to do, but let's get some training to those people before they get out on the job, so they know what those rules are and know what the processes are. And along with that, you know, those supervisors and managers need to be involved with them, take them through their job, answer those questions, and be prepared to follow up, because the first day is a blur in most people's minds when they go onto a job, and they're not going to remember those things. Oh, make sure you don't do this, and they'll be asking themselves, "Now, what was it he said? Make sure not to do this." As we look at our claims, that first couple of years is critical. We have a lot of injuries that happen during that time, and I believe they're related to improper training, not getting that done. Employees need to know what to do if things aren't right, if something isn't working right, if there's an emergency, if a process doesn't work or a tool doesn't work. What are the steps that I have to go through to make sure that it's done right? They also need to know their emergency procedures. Something as simple as, hey, when the fire alarm goes off, where do I go? Who do I report to? What happens if somebody's cut? Those simple things. Everybody needs to know how you do it at your shop. Reviewing and evaluating at least once a year. We need to go in and review, how are we performing? So to be able to determine how we're performing, we need to have something to compare that against. So we need to set some performance metrics. What are the numbers, or what are the things that we need to follow to see how well we're doing? And so my recommendation on this, we have a document that goes along with this. It gives you an ability to track these things. But we want to look at leading and trailing indicators. What's the difference between leading and trailing indicators? Trailing indicator would be the normal things that we think of when we're looking at goals. We had X number of people get injured this year. We had this many OSHA recordable injuries. We had this many close calls. We had this many auto accidents. Those are the things that that ship's already sailed, the water's under the bridge, whatever cliche you want to use there. It's done, it's happened. Now, those are important. They're good things to keep track of. But the leading indicators, I believe, are more important. What are the good things, the positive things that we're doing to prevent those trailing indicators from happening? Are we getting out? Is management getting out at least once a month to look at safety? Is each department doing an audit of their facility at least once a month? Are we doing training? Did every department do some sort of training topic this last month? Did we get everybody certified to do their position, to do their job? How many of the findings that we've had have we closed up? Boy, I must be getting really boring if Lance is actually even falling asleep on me. Oh, he heard his name. And we recommend some sort of report to management each month. Now, we have an example that's maybe a little more than what you'll want to use, but a summary that goes to upper management, and we recommend to the elected officials as well. It says, here's how we're doing. We had a serious accident this month. They need to know that because they're accountable. At the end of the day, those elected officials and upper management are accountable for anything that happens there. So let's transmit that up the chain. They need to know if one department out of your 15 departments didn't have a safety meeting or didn't do some sort of training. Well, why is that? Why did that one department not do that? And ask those type of questions. Also ask, did we achieve our goals? Don't look at this too often, but once or twice a year, look at that and say, here's where we wanted to be on our goals. We all ought to have the goal of 0, but we've got to have some interim goals. Eventually we want to have 0 accidents, zero injuries, but we realize that if we had 100 this last year, we're not going to get to 0 next year. It's going to take some time to get there. So let's look at those goals periodically, and if we achieve a goal, let's pat ourselves on the back. Let's make sure that everybody in the organization knows that hey, we set a goal, we've all worked together, and we achieved that goal. That's huge in building that culture. And once again, just going back, ask employees for their perception. How are we doing? Are we communicating enough? Do you feel safe in your workplace? Is there anything that concerns you about your workplace? Is there a job that scares you? Ask ourselves what's strong and what is weak, and finally, is our program effective? So just briefly in summary, programs work when management commits. I'll come back to that and say that over and over again. Management is the critical step in this process to make a program work. You can have every employee out there buying in. If management's not there, it's going to have a real hard time succeeding. Everybody needs to be involved. They need to feel a part of the process, and if they do, then they'll buy in and they'll support the process. Keep it simple. We don't need to have elaborate programs, and I gave you multiple steps, but each one of these are a pretty simple program that we can put in place. The other part of that, rule number 1, is cheat. That's one nice thing about being in government. We don't worry about intellectual property between government entities. If somebody's got a really good program or a really good way that they're doing it, by all means, call them up and say, hey, I'd like to use this, or hey, do you have something on this? Let's share back and forth and find the best practices throughout our organizations and make it as easy as we can to build a top-notch program out there. And then the toughest one is staying the course, and really having the intestinal fortitude to hang with this long enough that that we see those results, that we start to make those changes in our culture. And you may have a great culture to start with, but I guarantee you there's some things out there that we can improve on. And if we'll stay that course and people see some changes, we can get traction, and then these programs really will work. All right, Lance, how do we do? We've got some questions out there.
A couple of chats coming in on what excuses to use. I was resting my eyes. I was just imagining the plan that I would put in place. So, I mean, there's a couple of good ones.
That's good.
You guys help answer a lot of my questions. I was in grade school.
Yeah, that'd be nice to have, phone a friend to help out there. So, did we have any other questions come in?
Nothing else came in.
Okay.
Nothing else came in on that.
As we go into this next year, you look through at our training programs that we have, the webinars, and we really try to have a method to our madness, to try to help build these programs within our members' organizations. We don't do it just to be a pain, but we want to be there to help you out. And our goal, I know for Doug, Lance, and myself for sure, it hurts when we see those injuries come in, when we see those claims come in, and we really do want to see you succeed. Now, there's always a financial aspect to that, and that's definitely a part of it. But we want to succeed financially as well as just a simple part of having happier employees, because they go home with all their parts still attached. So, all right. Well, seeing no more questions there. I appreciate everybody's time hanging out with that. Oh, you know what? There was one other thing I was going to do, wasn't there, Lance?
There was.
I was going to show how to get onto the website. I've got a couple of slides. Many of you may have been on the original or the first webinar today, but let me just show you this. We have placed all of our. Here's the.
I did want to add one other thing. I did mention it in the chat box. If you do have multiple people attending with you, that you would send in a list of people that attended with you by email, so we can make sure you get credit for the course. I'm starting to get some pecs from the peanut gallery now.
So here's just a couple of things. Here are the frontline trainings that we have this year. These are the ones where we go out around through the state and provide this training. So take a look at those on our website. Oh, and here are the locations. Each of those trainings that I just showed will be given in each of these areas, but we got to make sure that everybody signs up. Please make sure that you go onto the website or send us an email and get signed up for these trainings. Even if you intend on going, if we don't have sufficient number of people signed up in these areas, there is potential that we cancel a training. And unfortunately, we've had that happen, and people said after, "Why didn't you do that?" So make sure you do sign up. Here's our summit programs, Parks and Recs coming up. We will have a human resources, sewer liability, fleet management, fire, and law enforcement summits all this year. If you go onto our website, you click on training, and then click on training and events calendar on that page. You can go in and list the entire year's topics. Click on the one that you're interested in, and it will take you to a description, tell you what it is, describe who's training, and then click to register. There's a little button down at the bottom. I wish we made it bigger, but that's what we've got. So click on that button down at the bottom, and it'll ask for your email address and your name and your employer, and not a whole. I think that's all the information it asks, and then you're signed up. And then if there ever happened to be a change in that training, you'd get updates. You also get reminders that will tell you, hey, you've got a training tomorrow or next week. All right, I think that is it. I went a little longer.
I got one comment that said, thanks for the online presentation, and another comment, thanks for the presentation, guys. So looks like that's about it.
All right.
As far as the comments and questions go.
Thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate it. Go out and have a safe day. Click that recording, Lance.
Yes, sir.